Clap it up, guys. Clap it up. 100 subscribers. Big accomplishment. It feels like just yesterday I started on YouTube. This is just one step closer to 1 million subscribers. Guys, it is a small feat. At the same time, it's no small feat. 100 subscribers. Yes, I know, folks. It's only 100 subscribers, but you know what? I'm very proud of this 100 subscribers. However, we cannot celebrate. I have to issue my deepest apologies to one of our subscribers. I'm sorry, and I'm so sorry. Miss Ann Malone made some questions to us. It was a year ago. I'm sorry. Getting these videos out is tough, especially long form, plus take care of the dogs, plus run the business, plus... Look, I'm not here to make excuses. I promise I'm going to be more consistent with this. But before we do anything, I have to address your questions. And again, I am so sorry for taking this long to get to your questions. I hope you and your little terrier are doing great. Please, 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 feel free to reach out and ask some more in-depth questions. I would love to know how it's been the last year. These are great questions, and I think that they will apply to everyone that is just bringing a new dog into their home. Before anything, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Leave a like for the coolest dog trainer on YouTube. And while you're down there, might as well sign up and get those notifications so you can know whenever I drop some reels, whenever I drop some videos. But let's just kind of start. I'm going to go ahead and read the comments. So, all right. Small terrier mix. I met with the trainer last week who said his leash reactivity is fear and anxiety based. She stressed the fact that it is us who need to be calm and in charge for him to take it slow, practice loose leash walking, and clear instructions in tiny interactions at home. Place, doorway, food, crate, etc. Working on all that and trying to be neutral, calm, and clear so he can relax. Every person with a dog behind a fence, rabbit, chipmunk, etc. sets him off. Let's clarify that. What this means is what is the dog anxious about? So it could be that because it can't chase this specific thing, because the movement is triggering. Remember, these dogs are engineered to chase things that move. So the fact that they can't do it can frustrate them, and it leads into reactivity. So this is we have to keep this in mind, because a lot of the times it's us trying to take the dog out of a habitat that they are built to enjoy, and now we're kind of retweaking it and taking them into that same scenario and basically having them go against genetics and go against what they really want to do. That's not to say that the reactivity, we need to be okay with it, but we need to understand it first. Before we could get into any type of engagement, first we need to break the dog's wall down. So when the dog is nervous, when the dog is fearful, what we need to do is build the bond and build an expectation that we are going to remove the dog out of this uncomfortable scenario. And basically we want to give them a different behavior to, default to when they feel uncomfortable. So they see a dog, they want to react. Instead of barking and going to the end of the leash and lunging, teach them to look at me, give me eye contact, and then move away. He was found in rural Texas. We live in Boston suburbs. Our neighborhood is tight quartered. Lots of dogs and people. Everyone has been great. They seem to understand that he needs some time, some space and time. But even going out to the road in front of our house to practice walking usually means a trigger shows up. When we have a dog who's reactive, we want to get as many positive repetitions as possible. So we need to avoid, obviously, the negative ones. But remember, avoidance of the behavior is not addressing it. It's just putting it on ice for a second. Now, in absence of training through it and working through it, yes, avoidance is the best bet. So You mentioned it here. If you have to load him up and take him somewhere else before you figure out a game plan, that's your best bet. When it's time to go through with the training, we do want to make sure that we make them work through this. It's very important. So we mentioned giving them a different behavior to default to. So give us eye contact. How can we get the dog to give us eye contact if they're trying to pull around us? Well, we have dog. Typically, the dogs are right here, and we have the two owners over here. This is not necessarily how we want to do it. We would like to do it the other way around. We would want the dog to be behind us. We are facing the dog, and let's say the dog wants to go around this way, we pivot this way. The dog wants to go around this way, we pivot this way. So if the dog goes this way, we block him off. Dog wants to go this way, we block him off. And we constantly do that. An extra step that you can add is move into them as well. Now, why does this help? The dog tries to go around. We continue moving and setting that pick, setting that screen. Eventually, they're going to be like, dude, what is it that you want? That moment, good boy, good girl. And we move them off and create distance from the trigger. I like to run what's called suicides or dog suicides. So what are we going to be doing? We're going to be here, and then I'm going to go ahead and little by little, I'm going to get closer and then move away. And then get a little bit closer and then move away. And then a little bit closer and then move them away. Always while getting the eye contact from our dog before we move away. Now, the end goal is to eventually be able to move past the trigger and go off on our merry way. This is important that we do because what typically happens is dogs react, and then we move them away. What we've done in this scenario is teach the dogs that if you're persistent enough and you are loud enough and bark enough, that's going to create the distance. And we want to make sure that we don't let the dog learn that behavior. We want to teach them that, hey, look, what's going to get you out of this uncomfortable scenario is going to be giving the handler eye contact, and the handler is going to move you away from this uncomfortable scenario. This is really important because this is what builds the bond. So, another thing I like to suggest. Let's say we are walking past the dog. Dog is walking past us. Dog is walking past us. What people usually do, they go around this way. Why is this a bad idea? Because this gives the dogs the ability to lunge at each other. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that our dog, and we have Pokemon here, which is a really good example. I like to call these the Pokemon battles. When we're walking our dogs, it's typically a Pokemon battle. Handler behind them. I throw out my dog, you throw out your dog, and we're just going to let them pull at the end of the leash and battle. That's not how you want to do it. We want to be that first line of defense. The way we typically want to do this is like that. I want to be first line of defense. I want to be able to block my dog off and stand in front, and I want to be that wall, that shield from any of the triggers. So when we are walking past somebody, if I'm walking down the street, you're walking your dog on your left side, what should the other handler be doing? Assuming they're walking the opposite direction, they should also have their dog on the left side. Now, if we're walking, even if we're walking in the same direction, at very least, handler right here is in the middle of the dogs. It should never be owner, dog, dog, owner. It should always be at least dog, owner, dog. Better yet, dog, owner, owner, dog. So if I'm speaking to somebody, most people do what? Oh, hey, how's it going? Oh, hey, how's it going? And then the dogs can obviously come and greet each other. Unless the dogs know each other, I don't like to ever encourage that. The way I like to do it have your dog stand slightly behind you. I have my dog standing slightly behind me, and we can go ahead and chat with each other. This is a good way to build a bond with your dog and build that expectation that you got them covered. Help them work through this uncomfortable scenario and start counter conditioning their understanding of what happens in these scenarios. And now we're slowly making these things that they previously thought was a trigger no longer a trigger. This is how we start getting through this reactivity from the scenario. The other big thing, because we need to drive somewhere, etc., 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 so it can get decent actual exercise and sniffing and playing, etc. on a long line. Distractions need to be far away. Again, don't worry about the distractions having to be far away. The goal should be doing those suicides. Let's say we're 7 feet away and the dog we can't control the dog. That is our threshold. And we need to work our way closer and closer and closer. But don't ever disengage from these scenarios with your dog in reactivity mode. You have to work them through. Wait till they settle down and then move them away. It's very important that we do this, because if we remove them from this uncomfortable scenario while they're in that mindset, then they start understanding that being in that mindset is what got them out of this environment, of this situation. And we don't want to do that. We want to counter condition that. This isn't the response that we're looking for. We are trying to teach them a different behavior to default to. In the car, the back seat, or covered crate, wherever, he reacts to everything he sees, same as on a walk, but at a motorcycle, road cruise, etc. So he gets all worked out, super loud, and I'm driving and just wait it out. So it's good that you're waiting it out. Now, wait it out outside of the car. Actually, it makes it worse because we're driving past all these things. He's reacting. He's basically doing a reactivity drive-by to all these different things and moving them away. We're just speeding up the process of teaching him react, and things go away. React, it goes away. React, it goes away. And this makes it a lot more challenging to work through it later on. Really hoping the trainer would say he needs to get along with other dogs, because dogs know how to teach and act with each other. She thinks not yet. This is a tricky one. I'm a big advocate for letting dogs teach other dogs stuff. Yes, there are some cases in which putting your dog around another dog that they look up to, that they respect, seeing them be okay around the road crew, around motorcycles, will kind of make them relax a little bit as well. So monkey see, monkey do sort of thing. But this isn't only in some scenarios, but it could work, assuming you have a good mentor dog. I have hard enough time remembering to give release commands and use the same words, so any help there? Okay, so in terms of commands, in this point in the dog's process, less is more. Saying as little as possible to the dogs is better, because we don't know what sort of understanding they have of these different cues that we're spouting out. So if we start saying, no, stop it, hey, cut it out, sit, no, down, hey, Fido, come here, Fido, no, stop, sit, it can make the dog really anxious, and sometimes this could be what's contributing to it. So keep this in mind. It's all about non-verbal communication in these scenarios first. We want to get the dog to a certain mindset before we start working on engagement, before we start working on a place, before we even start trying to work with food. My experience, if we work on getting them through their fear and their aversion towards these triggers, once we want to bring in that engagement and once we want to bring in that training, after they've got broken out of that shell, it's literally just like, again, it's a skyrocket straight through the roof. It's like to the moon. You can literally do whatever you want because they've broken out of that shell, and now you can literally take them anywhere, and it opens up the possibilities of where you can train and what you can train. If a kid, it's their first day of school, they don't know anyone at the school, again, sometimes you can't even worry about the bad grades that they're getting. They're uncomfortable, right? Maybe they're not in the best mindset to be able to learn and take in the information. So we first need to get the dog to that mindset. So if a dog like this were to come to you, I'd love to see your initial lessons to help the dog. If I could watch you doing it and say, okay, I did this 50 times a week, that would help. Okay. Unfortunately, there's no training regimen because every dog is different. Somebody could say, hey, look, do this every day for 5 days and this should work. No, not necessarily. There's no specific number of repetitions that you should be doing anything. It's about every dog moves at a different pace. So play it by ear. The dog will tell you where they're at. At some point, you're going to notice, you know what? We walked past that motorcycle. They didn't really freak out until we got to like 5 feet away. Okay, you might say, dang, they still reacted. But they used to react at 15 feet away. So if we were able to get just a little bit closer, that's progress. And sometimes that we have to take what we can get. We reward for effort, not necessarily for results. Eventually the dog will get it as long as we're clear, as long as we're fair. Anybody who has a nervous dog, work the process and be patient. Don't try to speed into it. Don't worry about obedience right now. Worry about getting the dog comfortable. Worry about building a strong bond with the dog. The engagement will come later. What you want to do is create a strong trust with them, that they will look at you. They tell you they're uncomfortable. You know, obviously you're going to know that they're uncomfortable. When you see them uncomfortable, the act of looking at you is what's going to remove them from this uncomfortable scenario. So eye contact is big. I would say work on eye contact. This is the biggest thing to do here. Now, this would be my take here, and I'm sure that there's a lot of other things that have arisen since you last sent me this, since you sent me these questions. So please, if you're still here, if you're still with us, please let me know. How else can I help? That being said, thank you so much for checking in, guys. We'll get back to numbering the episodes later. This is just episode 4th of July for 100 subscribers. That said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, My Dog's Place, we're back at it. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and make sure to leave any questions, comments, or observations down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you guys are struggling with dogs. Did this help? Does it make sense? What do you got? You guys let me know. In either case, we'll talk next time. Catch you. And remember, your dog is a reflection of you. It's never our dog's fault. It's always our fault. I'll catch you guys next time.